ready to party. Are you ready to party, Carrick?
I'm ready to party. Are you ready to party, Jackson?
I'm ready to party! Are you ready to party, Wesley?
I'm ready to party! Are you ready to party?
Stop it! Stop it! You're embarrassing me!
Stop!
Wonderful.
Did you check OBS?
Let's get going.
Yeah.
No more fooling around.
And yes, I did fix OBS.
All right, I'll start.
Do you guys want to record that saying, "Are you ready to party"?
I started recording right as we began that.
Oh, perfect.
Hello, everyone.
There's no way I'm leaving that out.
Last round of PIXAR Panic, which is the big Super Cup. We're going to wrap this up in a neat little bow and call it a day. I am Wesley Hunt. I have hosted this whole podcast, and I am fatigued as all heck, but I'm really glad to be seeing it off. I'm joined by my usual crew.
Hello, everybody. I am Irish Husky. I was the host of the last podcast, so Wesley, now you know how it feels.
I consider myself lucky to be doing with only 23 instead of 58.
Yeah, this only took us like 2.5 months, whereas the original Mouse Madness was close to 6.
My name is Carrick Raccoon Bro and Namnet, and I just got back from auditioning from a baby wolf. Let's go.
Cool.
Nice.
And
Hello, I'm Yoda Jets 10. I am a reviewer and voice actor. I'm a reviewer and writer animation, and I also do voices from the likes of Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob, and also Plankton. Thank you very much.
that was good. But
Say I went to college, you coward.
Yeah,
I went to college, you coward.
Yeah. But it was Super Cup. That had a huge turnout. We had 268 votes this round, more than any other round in Mouse Madness or PIXAR Panic on their own. So yeah, 268.
And by the way, can I just say, to those who follow my Twitter account, thank you for retweeting my Mommy Milky tweet. I was not expecting it to blow up the way it did. Because Mommy Milky was trending at the time, and I just figured might as well.
Right. But anyway, before we get to the Super Cup, though, we're going to do one last round like we did with Mouse Madness, where we discuss our favorite films that we have been discussing this entire tournament. But because PIXAR is a much smaller library, we'll only be doing our top 5 and maybe round out the top 10 with our honorable mention. But we'll go with the number 5s right about now.
When would you guys like to mention honorable mentions? Like before number 1 spot, or at some part in the middle?
I personally showed it before number 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So who will go first?
I guess I will, because I'm hosting. My number 5 is a fairly recent one. It's the only PIXAR movie this decade that I would rank among the highest of the highs. Not to say the rest were bad, but this was the one that stood out. Inside Out.
Technically, that was from last decade, but...
I mean, last decade, the 2010s, rather.
Okay.
Time is an illusion at this
last
point.
10 years.
Right, last 10 years. But it's a very beautiful, fun film. They have... The celebrity voices they chose are all great people and really funny. I love how it goes with riffing commentary culture, and I love what they do with all the different emotions, and it just feels realized. I've heard a lot of the complaints that Riley herself is kind of a weak character, but she's better than that kid from the Emoji Movie. We at least know Riley likes hockey.
Oh yeah, Alex.
She has some personality. That's fine.
She has 5 personalities.
Right. So seeing all of that together, it just makes my day, and it's really fun. And I'm glad it got a screenplay nomination, because I think the screenplay is really what elevated it. So good job, Pete Doctor. That proves to me that you're worthy of taking over PIXAR.
Absolutely.
I volunteer to go second.
Okay.
For my number 5 film, it is also a recent one that came out, and because it's so recent, I'm still trying to determine whether or not it's just recency bias or if I actually do enjoy it that much. But for now, my number 5 film is Soul. There's just something about this film just really struck a chord with me, and a lot of movies have that, the characters have a goal, and once they achieve it, they get their happy ending, and that's where the story ends. But I love how this film explores the fact that we can be so narrow-minded and tunnel vision towards a certain goal, and we'll think that once we get there, our lives are going to change forever, and things will be for the best. But we see that just because he got the gig, he didn't really feel different afterwards, and I don't know, there's something about that I really feel like needs to be discussed more in kids films. And right. Yes, this is a kids film, by the way. I know that people are talking about this film is so heavy. I don't know if it's too heavy for kids, but I mean, come on.
I think kids can watch it.
Pixar knows what they're doing. I mean, plus you've also got all the counselors too, and their incredible designs. I mean, my gosh, that's some of the most creative and fluid animation I've seen out of Pixar in years.
The Nazca lines in Peru or Mexico, they're the Nazca lines. I can't remember that.
And Tina Fey and Jamie Foxx are that classic Pixar duo of you wouldn't expect them to be so great together, but they absolutely are. And
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what's more, Pixar actually cares about surprising its audience. So the fact that him being a cat, the whole body swap subplot wasn't featured at all in the trailers. I really appreciate that they let us experience that, and I got to be oh my gosh, we're doing this now.
And it was times where the trailer didn't spoil the best jokes.
Yeah, in fact, not only that, they purposely used the most cringy jokes, and some jokes that weren't even in the movie. It's right. What do you want to be remembered for? I want to be remembered for this cowboy dance. That's not in the movie. That was just they did that to intentionally make the movie look worse. I don't know why they did that, but
yeah.
And maybe to lower expectations so that when you watch it, you're pleasantly surprised.
So here's the thing, though. I'm so used to Pixar doing that it's if the movie, the trailer intentionally lowers my expectations end up being sky high.
Right.
I mean,
but as for the message, there's an old song, I forget who sang it, but it goes, Oz never gave nothing to the Tin Man he didn't already have. And that's kind of what I feel like the message of this movie is.
You don't need to have some big accomplishment or do something amazing that changes the world. Just being alive is enough.
And all you need to make you happy is inside you the whole time.
Mm-hmm. And I know some people take umbrage with the ending, how it was a bit of a cop out, but I think I liked it for what it was, because for one, it would have been felt a little weird to have him learn his lesson and then not be able to actually live it,
Mm-hmm.
But I also appreciated the shot of him just looking on to the day, and him being I'm just gonna live life, and they leave it ambiguous as to what he actually does. Does he keep on doing the gig? Does he go back to teaching? And I appreciate that they left it ambiguous, because if they did show an answer, it would imply that there is a correct way to live life when there really isn't.
Right, the whole point of that ambiguity is that it doesn't matter which path he chooses, because he's just happy living.
Yeah. So, and all the music. My God, the music. Me and my roommate watched this together, and we could not stop talking about the music afterwards. It's just so and sublime, and on a whole other level. And Trent Reznor proves once again why he's one of the greatest composers in recent memory.
He's just one.
Soul is my number 5 pick, and also the barbershop scene is awesome. Moving on.
Yes.
Right. So Jackson or Nick, who's next?
I would like to go next, please.
Okay, Jackson.
My number 5 pick is Finding Dory, the sequel to Finding Nemo.
Cool.
Now, this is a film that I was really excited to see.
Wait. Hey, so when did I get cut off? I stopped talking after a point.
I
Yeah.
think you stopped talking
Because
after you mentioned the barbershop scene.
Okay, my Discord's acting up again for me, so I just said that Bill is my number 5. Jackson, what were you saying?
My number 5 pick is Finding Dory.
Thank you.
Now,
Also,
this
an interesting choice.
Thank you. Now this is a film that when I heard about, I was excited to see it, and I was even more excited the fact that it was coming out on my birthday. So that was a big plus. Now, as you know, Finding Nemo, like, spoiler alert ahead, like, Finding Nemo was one of my absolute favorite films, and this is a film that I was really excited to see, and it did not disappoint. Now, I know a lot of people say, like, oh, just because you put, like, a comedic character in the lead, it's automatically going to be bad. I'm like, no, there were plenty of good films and shows focusing on the comic relief that happened really good. Like, The Lion King 1.5 was pretty good. I love the Tigger movie. That one was fantastic. And this film is just right up there. It really does focus on the emotional parts and the humor, like, in an equal way, just as much as the first one did, especially when focusing on Dory's path to find her parents. I also like how Marlin and Nemo have more of a connection in this film. Like, they had a good connection fine in the first one, but here we like get to see them bond more, we see them connect more, we see them like butt heads with each other at times, but you can tell they really love each other. And we see how much Nemo has like grown to really respect Dory and like see her as part of their family too. And also, this film has also one of the most emotional roller coaster scenes I've ever seen in a film. It's a scene when Dory thinks that her parents have died. The whole bit was her just like everything falling apart, and she like has herself ended up right back to where she started the moment she lost her parents the first time. That really hit heavy. It was a really heavy scene.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And at that moment, when she gets reunited with her parents, and like her parents are saying like that it isn't your fault that you got lost. You used your disability for something good. Like, and that's something that a lot of people with disabilities, like with autism or like something like that, can really relate to. That your disability is not a bad thing. You can use it as a strength, and I really love the film for its message for that. And the humor is great too. Like, I love all the newer characters. Like, they aren't as memorable as the ones from the first one, but they're still pretty good on their own. Like, I love Hank the Septopus. He was a great little curmudgeon for Dory to work off of. And I also love all the otters. I thought they were pretty good. I also love Becky, that little bird. I always thought she was pretty funny.
And something I find interesting about the side characters is that all of them have a disability of their own, but like the film like treats it, like normalizes it. Like, you know, Hank doesn't have a leg, Destiny has nearsightedness, and so on. But they don't treat it like it's a weird thing. It's just normal.
Right.
Yeah, like Destiny, like I love Destiny, but every time I hear the word Destiny, I think of that really funny scene from Young Frankenstein with Gene Wilder just in his bed screaming, "Destiny, Destiny, no escaping that for me." I always crack up at that scene. And let's see, what's another thing I like about it? Like despite it like being taking place in like an aquarium, this aquarium just looks gorgeous. Like, I've been to aquariums before, and they really captured the colors and like everything around it, especially when Dory realizes that she could go home any minute now. It's just waiting for her. That's really good too. And the ending is all sorts of chaotic. But what do you expect about a movie about Dory? When the truck flies over and you hear "What a Wonderful World" playing in the background, I'm just like, this is insane. It's epic, and I love every second of it. Like,
Yeah.
With some climaxes like that, it can feel like out of place. But if you take it just far enough to be like the level of absurdity this film does, then it, you know, I kind of go along for the ride.
Yeah. And also, I love the little narration from Sigourney Weaver, which, on the subject of undersea stuff in Sigourney Weaver, I found out like a while ago that she's been a fan of SpongeBob SquarePants since the beginning. So that was pretty cool to hear.
Wow, that's neat.
I bet she watches it with her kids.
And she even made an appearance in the 20th anniversary special.
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
And so that's so great too. So yeah, like the only part is like the part I don't like is the Sia song, which we're not going to get into. Nope, we're not. Don't talk about. Nope. So yep.
That Tron clip to just say not touching that.
Yep. No. And like also like Beaky Buster from Looney Tunes. Nope. So yep, that's my number 5 choice. Finding Dory.
Yeah, and Nick.
All right, so my number 5 is a movie that I had initially ranked fairly high in my Pixar rankings, like bottom half of the top 10. But over the course of this tournament, I've really grown an appreciation and almost kind of an obsession with it. And to be fair, I've had plenty of opportunities to do that, considering how far it made it. So my number 5 is the first Incredibles movie.
Ooh,
good choice.
Our champion.
Yeah, I'd say it's a fairly worthy champion.
I'm not complaining about it.
Yeah, thing about this movie is, like, you know how people often, you know how, like, there's a few people who say that, you know, the plot of Monsters, Inc. was kind of hard to follow. Sentiment that I wholeheartedly disagree with, by the way.
yeah. Like, I didn't think it was that hard to follow.
Well, I actually felt kind of that way with The Incredibles, at least upon first watching when I was a kid and when I was a teenager. I felt like it kind of went all over the place, like, and just thinking back on it from memory, I knew there was a moment where, you know, Bob was fighting the Omnidroid for the first time, and then he goes back to his family, and for whatever reason, I thought all the stuff with him being a superhero was completely connected. So I had kind of a hard time, just in my memory, bringing that all together. But upon rewatching it for this tournament and seeing it all play out, it became a lot clearer to me. And, you know, once it became a lot clearer and where everything was headed, I found myself enjoying it way more than I did the first time.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I watched it for the Final Four, and it was the one that really knocked my socks off again. Spoilers, not really my top 5 yet, but I am really growing to appreciate it as champion.
Considering Brad Bird's filmography when it comes to specifically animated films, I think it's safe to say that he has a lot of respect for the intelligence of a child.
Right.
Yeah,
because there really is a lot going on in this movie when you get down to it.
Yeah, something that Brad Bird once said is that whenever he's making an animated film, he said he aims for adults first and children second.
I can kind of see that with this movie.
Plus, when you do that, it also helps its longevity, because we look back on this and we enjoy it more. Meanwhile, if some other film that, I don't know, like Illumination or Blue Sky might have made, like, it might be a little worse.
Yeah.
Now that we're older.
I mean, that's a good thing, and I think that's a good formula to have, because it's something that adults can enjoy now, and kids can also enjoy now, and then appreciate even more when they get older.
Right, and it has a lot of little things and little hidden moments that reward watches.
Right.
Because, I mean, when I was a kid, I loved all, like, the superhero stuff and, like, the action with scenes with Dash and Violet. Like, that's what kept me coming back. And in that scene with Elastigirl being trapped in the doors, like, I thought all that looked really cool as a kid.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, I didn't notice until watching it this year and this past year that, you know, when they found Mr. Incredible, they were actually looking for Frozone. Like, he was the one that they were targeting, and Bob just happened to be there at that time. And
yeah, it's an interesting detail that I didn't pick up as well at first.
Yeah, and of course it leads into my second favorite scene with Frozone, where they're inside the burning building, and he's just having that back and forth banter with Bob.
Yeah. Though I especially love when they get inside that bank and he just goes, "Oh, no,
that ain't right.
That ain't right." Yeah.
Yeah, that's something else I like. It, like, it has a bit of a more serious tone than a lot of other Pixar movies, but it manages to throw in those comedic moments and, that back and forth banter even during a lot of those action heavy scenes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the mark of good writing right there.
Right. I mean, whether it's between Bob and Frozone, or it's between the Pars themselves, like there's always some kind of back and forth going on, kind of to ease the tension, even in these really heavy moments. Heck, even when he first meets Syndrome, because Syndrome is such a hammy character, and just his dialogue and the fact that they lampshade his monologuing. They lampshade that twice in this movie, by the way.
You sly dog, you got me monologuing.
It's self-aware enough to have fun, but also knows how to keep the stakes at a reasonable level so that there's something worth fighting for and worth being invested in, but it doesn't get bogged down in things that are too serious, even when the situation calls for something, very serious and very heavy. Just the whole situation of supers being made illegal in the first place, and Bob not being able to adjust to civilian life, that's a very heavy topic, but they handle it so well.
Right.
Yeah.
I disconnected again. Were you referring to the scene where he finds out about all of his friends dying?
I actually didn't bring that part up.
Oh, which scene were you referring to?
I was just talking about the fact that he had to adjust to civilian life, and he couldn't make that adjustment very well. Even though he was saying at the very beginning, like, sometimes he just wants to break away from the superhero persona and just be a normal person. Whereas Elastigirl was saying, I wouldn't want to just be a civilian. And then once they're made illegal, the tables are completely changed.
Yeah, like, don't forget this line either. Like, I feel like the maid. I just clean up this mess. I mean, can we keep it clean for 10 minutes?
Oh, yeah.
I'm probably going to stay on my phone for the rest of the podcast. There's too much of a risk of me disconnecting.
That's
on
fine.
my computer.
Get the internet check.
I don't know. It's just like it's not a problem with the internet. It's just like Discord. It's weird. But anyway, back to what we were talking about.
You done, Nick?
Yeah, I think I'm done. I think I've covered all I want to say about that movie. It's grown on me a lot over the years. It's grown on me a lot over this tournament. I think it was a worthy champion for PIXAR Panic. And the fact that there are 4 movies ahead of it really speaks to Pixar's quality.
Yeah, also something funny I wanted to add. My brother apparently said in middle and high school this is a movie that substitute teachers would put on when they had nothing to teach that day.
Oh, yeah?
Awesome.
So yeah, he spent the better part of a decade just half watching it in class. And
Let me teach you all about putting behind the glory days and appreciating what you have now. We're in high school.
Right, that sort of thing. I forget what mine was, but I can kind of see where he was coming from with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we talk about my life in Pixar. We talk about how it's drawn for us. My number 4 is the film that came out the year I was born, the OG Toy Story.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, some have said that it hasn't aged well. Some have said it's one of the least memorable. I find it hilarious. I still think that the back and forth comedy just holds up pretty great. Woody's a great man. I can see why they'd say he's a little bit of a jerk, but he also has an arc. And it has one of the most believable arcs. And of course, it's helped by Tom Hanks' actually pretty strong performance.
Mm-hmm.
They picked a guy who was coming off back-to-back Oscars, and he still gives it his all here. But we have that. The toy settings are funny. It's infinitely quotable. It's still got a lot of heart and fun to it. And I'm just glad to see where it all turns out at the end, because it takes all these twists and turns. So even though aesthetically it might seem a little primitive, it still holds up in the writing department, and I really like how it's able to juggle all these characters and still pull off something satisfying.
Yeah.
I think it goes without saying that Tom Hanks agreeing to be in this movie might have been one of the biggest gambles in his whole career, because the technology was just unheard of at the time, and if it wasn't as good as it was, we might not be where we are today with Pixar, and it paid off, and I'm happy for it.
That's right.
We had all these great lines. We had Randy Newman's incredible score. It's just something where it all came together and it just clicked. So, and despite being made in '95, there are no contemporary references. So again, the writing feels undated.
Right. I don't know. I guess some people will argue that with the whole potato head thing going on now, that is somewhat dated. But I mean, whatever.
They just
that doesn't bother me.
Who cares?
Right. But Toy Story still funny, still managed to get a laugh out of me. So I'm glad to call it number 4.
Like, something else I should probably say about it. What's such an alien?
Where?
Where? That laugh is still used in countless YouTube poops, like everywhere.
I see it like all over the internet.
The ultimate sarcastic laugh.
Yeah. And I don't even know how you could recreate that, because that's got to be one of the most iconic sound bites in an animated film in the past 50 years or so.
Like, I even see Woody in like some like SMG4 videos where they still use those sound clips. Like, oh yeah, tough guy.
And they probably did it multiple takes too. So imagine how hard Tom Hanks had to work to get it right.
Right.
So, like, could you imagine like Woody being like a Smash character and him using those lines like, oh, okay, well, so you went through it the hard way, huh?
You're giving the modders ideas, Jackson.
Yeah. Oh, I don't care. I'd love to see it.
Oh man,
you're playing a dangerous game here.
I could see that laugh over the Sephiroth trailer after it looks like he stabs Mario. Like, it just cuts to black with the laugh in the background, echoing in the background.
Yeah,
like something out of a Bosch video.
Oh, that guy's a fucking genius.
I've seen people take the beginning of the Sephiroth trailer, and when Galeem gets sliced in half, instead of Sephiroth's theme playing, you start to hear Rules of Nature, and it's Raiden from Metal Gear.
Yeah.
All right. Now, for my number 4 pick, I'm going to be doing a little bit of retreading here, and go with Wes's number 5 pick, Inside Out.
Okay.
This along with Coco is probably the hardest I've cried at a Disney film, at like any Disney film, period. And it makes sense because of how much this film deals with emotions and saying that it's okay to experience them. In fact, it's absolutely essential to developing into a full adult, you know?
Mm-hmm.
If we don't accept these other emotions, we're just bottling ourselves up, and one of these days it might explode when we don't mean it to. Mm-hmm. Kind of like the dinner scene in this movie, where she's just trying so hard to be happy, but it just backfires.
Oh, that dinner scene, that kills me every time.
Yeah.
It was one of the only scenes that they showed in the trailer, and everyone was like, "Where the heck is joy and sadness?" And now they didn't give us context on purpose, I suppose.
Yeah,
and
I had no idea what this movie was going to be about the first time I saw it.
I ended up developing a bunch of headcanons about what the heck happened at school that made her act like that. Like in one in particular where like she got into a fight with somebody, like actually a fist fight or something, but it didn't go that. Obviously, it didn't go that far, but still.
A fist fight, that would be something pretty incredible, especially for a girl.
And it also goes without saying that despite the feels factor of this film, like it's also easily one of the funniest Pixar movies we've had in a while. Like Coco makes me cry, but I don't laugh at nearly as much of that movie as I do with this one. Like that one scene where Joy accidentally knocks over a box of facts and opinions, and then Bing Bong's like, just put them back in. They get mixed up all the time.
Yeah,
man.
My mom was even talking about watching this, how she has the little man run around in her head looking for information. Well, here's a whole movie based on that.
Like, I also should point out that remember that Spanish pilot guy that Riley's mom keeps thinking about?
The Brazilian one?
Yeah. I found out that the voice for him is also Juantissimo Magnifico in the
Really?
Baron.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Carlos Alazraqui, also Laszlo from Camp Laszlo.
Oh, and also Fairy Godparents!
Oh yeah, Carlos Alazraqui is kind of a voice acting veteran.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, and it is a little. I always do appreciate when films like actually give voice actors a lot of time to shine. I do like that they at least get to have memorable moments like that one, and plus, like Wes said, the casting of all the emotions was absolutely perfect, and because of it, so many people were because when we look into other people's heads, all of the emotions are the same gender. So everyone was like, "Oh, does this mean that maybe Riley's bisexual or something?" And then like Pete Docter said in an interview, "I hope people don't look too far into it. It doesn't actually mean anything."
Yeah. Pete, it's the internet. Of course they're going to look too deep into it.
Right.
The internet will theorize and headcanon all it wants.
It's like Adam Conover. It ruins everything.
I mean, technically, everything that happens inside Riley's head in the movie is headcanon.
Oh, good one.
There we go.
What were you saying?
And to people who say, "Oh,
do you guys think Riley is 22 from Soul?"
Nah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we saw that 22 was clearly headed towards China, so.
Sherpa.
Yeah, I theorize. Oh. Yeah, Wesley and I theorized that 22 Soul inhabits the body of a Nepalese Sherpa.
My gosh, you remember that one Family Guy joke where Death gets in a car crash and like Super Death comes to take his soul?
Oh yeah.
He's like, well, what happens to me when I die? You're about to be reincarnated as a Chinese baby right now, and then he like disappears, and he comes back immediately, and he's like, girl.
Damn.
Like, damn, yeah. Family Guy.
I thought you were gonna reference the one where Peter wonders why the country is called Nepal. It cuts to God and Jesus.
Oh yeah, that's a good one too.
This country kind of looks like nipples. We can't just call a country nipples. What about Nepal? Oh, that's a good one.
God gets it.
Shocker! God gets it right.
You're Jax, you right?
For my number,
I wanted to say one more thing to people who say that Joy is the villain of the film. It's a thing called character arcs. Look into it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like there were times Joy annoyed me, but I wouldn't say she was like the villain.
It's like saying Woody's the villain in Toy Story.
Well, he was going to be.
He almost was.
Yeah.
Hey, so my number 4 pick, like this is an unpopular one, but I don't care. Like I've made a couple of times in these podcasts. I love this one. My number 4 pick goes to A Bug's Life.
Oh, interesting. I wasn't expecting that one actually.
Yeah, but Bug's Life. This film is one of my childhood favorites. It was also one of the first films I ever saw on the big screen. Just the way they made such the tiniest little places. Like it only just takes place on like a hill, like a tree on a hill. Like that's the biggest place. That's like where it takes place. But they really made the film just look gigantic. When Flick first goes off planet on that dandelion, that whole place, it almost still thinks he's actually entering another part of the world. It actually looks that incredible. And this film is just a great ensemble cast. Like, all the characters in the film are absolutely fantastic and memorable. Like, I remember what each and every one of them looks like, what even one of them sounds like. And this film has, like, a gigantic amount of celebrities in their roles. Like, people like Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Phyllis Diller, David Hyde Pierce, Dennis Leary, Roddy McDowall, Bonnie Hunt. Like, these people are all huge names.
Yeah, I think this was Roddy McDowall's last role before his death.
That's right. And Jonathan Harris, like, he was also in it. So, like, all these actors did, like, a phenomenal job with their characters.
Oh, hey, Madeline Kahn's in it, too.
Uh-huh. Like, this was also her last film before her death.
Really?
Like, one of them.
Oh.
And, so, what is there? Oh, the story's really good, too. I love how it's a mixture of all sorts of different stories, like, The End, The Grasshopper, but also takes inspiration from films like The Three Amigos, like the Steve Martin comedies, which also had music by Randy Newman, which was a nice little touch.
Oh, yeah, I think this movie does have one of his best scores. I still remember the main theme and the Bug City part.
Yeah, that whole thing is great too, and the jokes are really good too. Like, in the Bud City, there's like kind of a mean joke, but I think it's funny. Like, the kid pulled my wings off. Like, ooh, that scene. Oh man, that poor bug.
Right.
And Hopper is definitely one of my favorite villains. Like, not just Disney, not just Disney or Pixar. Like, just one of my favorite villains in general. Like, he creates such a presence, and he knows that the way to, like, get under these ants' skin, the way to make them scared, is to intimidate them and use, like, by brute force. That makes him scary as hell. Right. And also the fact that he almost feeds Dot to a cannibal grasshopper, and he has no remorse doing it. I'm like, that is pure. That is sadistic. That is so freaking twisted. Like, remember when he was going to say, like, oh, you know, like, Thumper, he was going to feed Dot to that cannibal grasshopper.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And, by the way, very avant-garde choice on Pixar's part to cast a real-life villain as the villain.
Yeah.
Very good casting on their part.
Rocky, he's in this one too as a minor grasshopper.
Oh, he was a grasshopper? Like, I could have sworn he was the voice of that one ant at the beginning who goes, I'm lost! Like,
Maybe, but he's also credited as a grasshopper.
Yeah. Like, and also, speaking of grasshoppers, I think Andrew Stanton, I think there was, like, a prototype Crush voice in there, because one grasshopper's like being like, oh, cool. I'm like, is that Crush? I think that's Crush. And, I know a lot of people... Huh?
Andrew Stanton did voice one of those, like, bugs that was flying into the bug zapper. It's like, don't do it. I can't. It's so pretty.
Yeah, that one was really good. And I know a lot of people complain about the lie revealed thing, but here's the thing, like, this is one of the first ever versions I saw of it, and, like, it didn't really bother me that much. And I always thought that the fact that, like, that this is right before the grasshoppers come in, and they think that this isn't going to work. Like, I see a little bit, but it's kind of like the villain from Incredibles 2. Like, it's something minor, but it doesn't kill the whole movie for me. I just have so much fun with both those films, and this film is no exception. Oh, and one more thing. That scene with the grasshoppers coming to the fog. Oh man, that scene was freaky. Like, the music stops. Like we hear the grasshoppers flying, and then they just don't hear anymore, and they just come out of the fog. That's something like out of a horror film.
No one ever said Pixar wasn't good at creating atmosphere.
Yep. And, like, so, with all that said, A Bug's Life, that one is my number 4 choice.
I see.
Okay.
That's pretty good, though. I have fond memories of this movie.
So one of my favorite jokes is when the circus bugs first come to, like, distract the grasshoppers, and Tuck and Roll do their usual performance, but then they start fighting each other, and then Hopper looks at them and is like, okay, now that's funny. It's like, a surprisingly human moment for our villain. I like it when movies do stuff like that.
Me too.
Yeah, I have like the vaguest memories of watching this movie like in daycare in my like before I moved to Illinois, even like that long ago.
Wow.
Like obviously I don't remember everything I saw, but I do remember, being in the movie room and then putting on A Bug's Life.
Oh, and another thing, like the voice of Squidward from SpongeBob is in this movie. He plays a drunk mosquito.
Yep.
Primary. Oh, positive.
Yep, that's him. I'm like, so this is where he goes every day after the Krusty Krab.
Once you hear it, you'll never unhear it.
Roger Bumpass.
Huh?
I said never stop being awesome, Roger Bumpass.
Didn't the actual Robert Bumpass get a DUI once?
I think so.
Yeah, he did. I'm glad Nickelodeon didn't fire him for that.
Yeah. All right. Is it my turn now?
Yeah.
All right. So my number 4 is another one that we've talked about a lot on this podcast, and it's one that Wesley's probably going to go into a lot more detail going on, so I'll keep it brief. It's WALL-E. Yeah, this is another movie that I saw once as a kid and completely forgot until this tournament. And I'd heard that this was among Pixar's most acclaimed movies ever. So, needless to say, I was excited when I finally got the chance to watch it again, and I'd say my excitement was well placed because it just blew me away in so many parts. Like, I knew the first half hour was very much low dialogue, if any at all. A lot of atmosphere. A message that's pretty obvious and kind of hammered in your face, but that's just by the way it sets up its atmosphere. And then it literally leaves the atmosphere for the space part. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think this would have ranked higher for me, though, but the reason I'm putting it at number 4 is because this is the kind of movie where like I kind of have to get into a certain headspace to fully appreciate it. It's not one of those movies that I can just put on at any time and, appreciate it fully. And my top 3, those are movies that I can do that with, so that's why WALL-E kind of loses out. But don't get me wrong, once I get into that headspace, this movie is absolutely breathtaking.
Right, yeah.
I rewatched it recently, and one thing I forgot about is how basically immediately once WALL-E appears on the ship, he kind of changes people's lives in like very small ways because they're so used to the usual monotony of routine. But once he comes in and spices things up, like they begin to look at things in a new perspective. Like that one woman who's like, I didn't know we had a pool, or like that one robot who was typing on the keyboard and WALL-E waved at him, and the robot then like realized that he could move his hand in a way that he didn't even consider before. So
I have
he just like kept waving it.
Yeah.
Like, gosh, I never thought of it this way. Like I like that little detail because I mean WALL-E's never been on this ship before, and of course he would shake things up a bunch just by existing there.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Something new, something interesting.
Yeah, and I also like the ship captain played by Jeff Garlin. But it's like I always when I was a kid, I always thought he was Seth Rogen, but then I'm like, oh, it's just 2 different people. Okay. Because they always sound so alike.
No, it's like discount Seth Rogen.
Yeah, and like he was also recently in SpongeBob as this gigantic talking hamster.
Oh, yeah.
And like cuddly hugs. I'm like, that was so freaking surreal, and I loved every second of it. So just a little shout out to Jeff Garlin because I love his voice.
Yeah.
Or maybe Seth Rogen is discount Jeff Garlin.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
Ever considered that?
And he was also in the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour 3 where he was Shirley.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I just love that guy. When he reads that note from Jimmy and Timmy saying where they'll be, he just goes, well, that was thoughtful. I will destroy them there!
Man, that trilogy was amazing.
Yeah.
But so we ready to move on?
Mm-hmm.
All right, number 3 is a movie that many of us may have on our own list. One that I really like. It's Up. It's a pretty good character study. It's a movie about following your passions and how you're never too old to follow your dreams. I heard someone say the only time you can't pursue your passions is when you're dead. So Carl is making the most of it and trying to make the most of his passions. And then you have the new blood, Russell, who's tagging along. I do actually think this movie holds up past the first 10 minutes because of that message of don't give up on your dreams and to move on a little further. And
Don't
about
let your
how
dreams
Carl,
be dreams.
Yep, exactly. And how Carl is so consumed by hubris that he goes Captain Ahab over Kevin when he forgets that he could make a killing over talking dog collars. So it's kind of seeing that dynamic of Carl, who lived his life and made the most of it, versus Muntz, who was stuck in that little bubble and couldn't see past it. And also, mad respects for both Ed Asner and Christopher Plummer. They both did a great job. And
They both did great.
Yes, I love that. Let's hope Ed Asner makes it to the century mark. Oh.
Yeah, here's hoping. Because
Yeah.
a world without Ed Asner is a world with less talent.
Let's happiness.
Yeah.
How old is he
By the way,
now?
one-
91?
Yeah.
Definitely his 90s.
Yeah.
I hope
Go on.
I hope he ends up. I hope he is one of those people who's as immortal as the Queen.
Yeah.
Right.
Because let's face it, the Queen of England's gonna live forever.
Right.
Or Betty White.
Yeah, her too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Ed Asner, like he was another guy. Like he was recently in SpongeBob, and like I could never tell it was him because the voice he gave in that one episode he was in was really good.
Yeah. Pretty neat.
He was in
But-
SpongeBob?
Yeah, in one episode he played some freaky old man who kept like taking people's stuff, and he kept saying, "Those planes violated my airspace, and I'm keeping them. I'm calling the cops."
Yeah.
Like it was a very like I could never recognize it was him.
Right. But
By the way, the only other live action movie I recall seeing Ed Asner in is the one about a donkey that plays for a football team and kicks field goals and helps the team win.
oh dear.
Oh, that sounds
Like,
like some Disney Channel original movie crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, and Don Knotts is in it, and my mom loves the crap out of it because like it came out around her time.
It's Air Bud it's Air Bud, but it's ass.
Yeah, it came out in the 70s, so I guess you could say it was ahead of its time.
Okay, I'm just looking it up. It's called Gus from 1976.
Yeah.
And it was
That's
produced
it.
by Disney. So,
There you go.
Well,
Hop it up.
Yeah,
the
I-
trail. But
I remember seeing that in a Disney documentary where it was called "A Mule Who Kicks a Field Goal Named Gus," and also "A Cat from Outer Space." I'm like, oh man.
Huh.
But yeah, Up hits the feels, holds it all the way. Don't really get where a lot of the people who say Peter's off comes from because I still felt the feels. And Michael Giacchino's score, the main theme reminds me of Musetta's Waltz, but in a good way.
Yeah.
hooray.
One detail I forgot about when going back to it was that he didn't actually know that Ellie put all that stuff in their adventure book.
Aww.
So my question is, did she do that purposely, like, it's for him to, like, so that he would see it after she was gone? Like, why didn't she tell him about that?
Maybe she died before she had the chance. Like I'm
Maybe.
thinking she wrote that message while she was on her deathbed.
I did
And like
too.
it's never
You need a
it's never explicitly shown exactly when she dies, but in the opening montage you kind of see her body go limp right after she hands him the book. I think that was the moment where she finally passed.
You made a sad movie
Oh, man.
matter. That's just
I mean,
You're welcome.
the fact that he did know does make the moment more powerful, so I'm not complaining.
Right. I mean, there is a scene, like, when he thinks he's about to get evicted, like, he goes through the book and he can't bring himself to go past the stuff I'm going to do page.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because he can't bear the thought of seeing that part of the book completely empty.
Right. And I'm pretty sure the only reason he did end up going through it was because, like, he noticed something jutting out of it.
Right. Like, I think he was... Like, I think it was the moment where he was like, I'm here now. I've got nothing else to lose.
Yeah.
All right, who's next?
I think you are.
And
Oh,
also,
okay.
I should also point out that my cat just joined me, and he's just like loving every second of it.
Oh, shucks. And my number 3 pick is the one. If you take into account how close one of the matchups was for me, the number 3 pick shouldn't be too surprising. It is Monsters Inc.
All right.
Literally right above Inside Out, because that was probably the hardest matchup for me. And the only reason I went with Monsters Inc. was because the music put it ahead of Inside Out by just a tad, like a centimeter.
I see.
I can't stress enough how much I love both of these films. And Monsters Inc. is probably, I think it's another one of my childhood films, but there are a lot of Pixar movies that you could consider my childhood, since I preferred Pixar over Disney, since, you know, I was going through that little boy phase where it's like I want to watch a Disney princess movie that's for girls, like musicals are gross. So, but Pixar, since they just told regular stories, like, I was more inclined to watch those. And Monsters Inc. There's not a whole lot I can say about this that I already haven't. I mean, it has one of the best duos in Pixar's catalog. Mike and Sully have so much damn chemistry. The world building is really well done, and I appreciate all the little moments where it does not even like about the plot. It just helps to grow the universe and grow like the characters' relationships. Like any scene with those 2 employees who are like, oh, sorry, hey man, you're making him lose his focus. You know, just like it shows how much people look up to Mike and Sully, like how legendary they are. And and any scene where I love how much the scene of the relationship is of Sully and Boo is what I'm trying to get to. That relationship is perfectly paced. Like, I feel like he starts to empathize with her at the exact right time. He becomes more playful with her at the exact right time. He names her the exact right time. Like, it really is something else, the way that's handled. And any scene that with the monsters running away from Boo reminds me of that one meme of like the guys in the hallway running away, and then you eventually see that they're just running away from a duckling that's chasing them.
Yeah.
Just like stuff like that is absolutely adorable and hilarious, and this movie is chock full of moments like that.
Yeah, I particularly like the dynamic between, like, as short as it is, the dynamic between Mike and Roz.
Yeah.
Good morning, Roz, my succulent little garden snail, and who will we be scaring today?
Wazowski, you didn't file your paperwork last night.
Oh, that darn paperwork. Wouldn't it be great if it could all just blow away?
It's
Now, let it happen again.
I love it.
And it ends up becoming an important plot point too. It explains why they're not able to immediately get Boo back to her door.
Right. I also love her appearances in the bloopers.
Ta-da!
Yes.
Okay, you're finished now, right?
Yes, hell.
Hello.
And they use the rule of 3, where they have her appear 3 times in 3 different ways.
Yeah, a a rule that some movies just kind of forget about sometimes.
Right.
Oh, Charmin.
The idea is you can only tell the same joke 3 times. So, yeah.
Although I will say, I do like the one. There's that Robot Chicken DC special where Bane like breaks Batman's back 3 times, but then he does it. Then he does it a 4th time anyway, and Batman's like, it's rule of 3, not rule of 4, you jerk.
That's a little funny.
Yeah.
So it's like purposely throwing on it. Yeah, and the villains as well are very well done, because I like how even though this film has a twist villain, so to speak, we do have an antagonist during the first half. So
Randall creeped me out as a kid.
And it doesn't feel like the movie is less complete. And once we actually do get the twist villain, like his motivation and reasoning behind going down the path he is so scary, specifically because it's realistic, and it is
there's even a bit of foreshadowing at the beginning where he says, "This family's been in the water. This company's been with the Water Deuces for 3 generations. I'd do anything to keep it going."
Yeah.
I mean, it just goes to show that even in real life, sometimes companies can go a bit too far in trying to keep afloat, and you got to know when to draw the line.
Yeah, and then even though Water News and Randall are working together, like, Water News doesn't like the fact that he had to banish Sully. He's saying that Sullivan was twice as scared that he will ever be.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's almost like he is a dynamic character that didn't just flip a switch and now is just bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, Hans.
Frozen. Yeah, we had said the exact same villain.
Yeah.
Or guy from Big Hero 6.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the mistake guy.
I didn't think it was that bad, but like that meme, that is a very good meme. That was his mistake.
That was his stake.
Yoda Jax, you want to go?
Yeah, I'll go up next. Let's talk about that film.
Ha. Up.
I just said the film.
It's up.
Oh, god damn it.
I've been preparing that joke.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's like that one Ed, Edd n Eddy episode.
That's the problem with these generic one-word titles. It makes it so confusing.
Right.
It would have been better if it was called something like The Old Man in His Balloon House. Like, come on.
So like the Disney poll, we have Up in the identical spots, Yoda Jack.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And like, and really thinking about this is the second animated film in history to get a nomination for Best Picture after Beauty and the Beast.
Right.
Now that really says a lot to me, because after the Oscars made the stupid decision of making the Best Animated Feature categories, this film was so good enough that it went past that and still got a Best Picture nomination. So, in your face, Oscars.
Right. It was probably partially separated to keep Shrek from winning Best Picture.
Yeah.
Which
it would have won.
That Shrek is actually a modern masterpiece.
Yeah. Shrek would have won.
Yeah, of course.
Funny enough, I actually heard it was created.
It got accepted into the National Film Registry, for goodness sake.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I actually thought it was because of Chicken Run that thing was created. It's like people were.
Chicken Run was the year before, and they were gunning for it, but then they were like, "Alex, animated feature. We'll see what happens, and we won't let whatever does that with Best Picture."
Yeah, but
Up really broke new ground. Although to be fair, they expanded the list to 10 that year.
Wait, did Toy Story 3 come after Up?
Yep,
it did.
Okay, so yeah, that was the third film to get the Best Picture nomination.
and
it was a sequel, no less.
it's the only threequel to be nominated without any of its predecessors doing so.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But like back to Up, what else can be said about this film? Like, even with the first 10 minutes, without the first 10 minutes, this movie is still a freaking masterpiece. Like, I love the whole character arc that Carl Fredricksen goes through. I love his little connection with with Russell. I love like Kevin and especially Doug. I thought Doug was like both really funny and really cute at the same time. Especially love all those little evil minion dogs, especially the one with the high pitched chipmunk voice. That is still one of the funniest things that PIXAR's ever done. With that.
And already I love you.
Yeah, but like,
it's like that's exactly what a dog would say if they could talk.
And like that evil dog who has that chipmunk voice, like that is just like so great. I love it every time I hear it. I always get a big grin on my face whenever that dog talks. So
and then when he fixes his collar, he's like, "Thank you, master." And the kid's like, "I liked his old voice better."
Yeah, that was great too. And of course the villain, voiced by the late Christopher Plummer, like God rest his soul. Like he did a great job as the villain, especially that part where it's like it seems like a nice dinner, but he goes into detail about like what's been going on, how long he's been tracking this creature, and like how he's lost dogs in the maze. Mm-hmm. That was like such a great chilling moment, and like the bitterness in his delivery just really sold it. And when he starts finding out more and more that Carl has something to do with the bird, it really gets like intense.
Right.
Like it's like, oh shit, Carl's in trouble now. And like along with that, the animation is gorgeous. This is one of PIXAR's most beautiful looking films. Like the size and scope of it, like the different places that Carl and Russell go to with their friends. It is like one of those films I would just call it eye candy. It's right up there with something like The Three Caballeros, where I would just call it eye candy the movie. Mm-hmm. It just looks that freaking spectacular. And
the scene where they find out he's actually a bad guy feels like if you were on a dinner date with a girl and she says like one thing that betrays her real intentions, and you're like, "Oh, I get it. You're crazy."
that's a good way to put it. Yeah. So let's see if there's anything else I'm missing. I really love the ending because I love how like I really love films that like go through with the character wanting their goal, but then they realize that like, no, this isn't what I wanted. Like, why aren't I happy? Like, I really love when films do that. And like after Carl gets where he wants, when he gets a house, the exact kind of place he wants it to be. Like he finds that like he's like, why aren't I happy? I should be happy about this. So why am I not? And like this is a film that really does it to its fullest potential. Especially like I especially love how Carl doesn't even know. Like when he loses the house, he doesn't know where it lands. Like that's something I really do like. It shows that he really doesn't mind it. He knows what's more important. Especially that closing shot of the house landing on the right where the spot where it was is such like it's a perfect way to close out a perfect film.
God,
they should have ended it with a dance party. It would have been way better.
Yeah.
That one shot
have the dog
gets
twerk
me every
or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And the music by Michael is it Giacchino? Is that what his name is?
I think it's Giacchino. I want to say it's Giacchino.
Yeah. His score is really good. Like this is another one of those films that uses like an old timey score that you hear something like from the 50s or 60s. And I really like when films do that, especially PIXAR, because it really gives it like that special nostalgic, like old timey but still timeless feeling to it by mixing modern and old timey stuff to it. So
it doesn't make sense when the main character is a really old guy.
Yeah. So with all that said, like Up is my number 3 favorite PIXAR film.
All right, I guess it is my turn. For number 3, I'm not going to talk about one, but 2 movies. Specifically, Toy Story 1 and Toy Story 2. I couldn't decide. I really couldn't. I mean...
That's interesting. Oh, interesting.
I mean, this whole series is basically Pixar's bread and butter. Like, not only is it what got them started with feature films, but the fact that both of them were so well received, both of them made so much money. Like, without these movies, Pixar would not be the giant that it became. And the fact that they hold up to this day, like, even after their animation has improved with leaps and bounds, the fact that people still watch these movies and still love them and can still quote every line is a real testament to how strong the writing, the characters, the music, basically everything aside from the animation, or rather with the animation, because that's the thing, they complement each other so well. And I've talked before how I have a slight preference for the first one, not just because it's one of the movies that defined my childhood, but also because it has kind of that harsher, more sarcastic humor. I feel like the animation in the first one really helps enhance that kind of humor. Like Woody's laugh, his sarcastic laugh after he mocks Buzz. Like, I can't imagine that scene if it were animated like Toy Story 2 or 3 or 4. Like, kind of the rougher, more, plastic texture kind of gives it that extra edge.
More polygons. All
Indeed. So that's why I have them tied. It's because they have these different feels to them, and all of the technical aspects complement those different feels. Like Toy Story 1's animation wouldn't work as well with Toy Story 2's story, and vice versa.
Well, I mean, it's also why people still talk about and enjoy games like Super Mario 64. Like, sure, it hasn't exactly aged the best, like, graphically speaking, but it was such a revolutionary thing at the time, and it still holds up with the parts that matter, like gameplay.
Right.
Wait, Carrot, are you talking about the Toy Story films or Up? You said it still holds up. What are you talking about?
I feel hate in me body. I feel
to
as much
kill
hate as that
rising.
bus driver from Inside Out.
Yeah.
But yeah, my point was made.
Indeed. I mean, I still think about how important these movies are, especially the first one, because this was my go-to movie. Like, whenever I just wanted to watch something, when I was a bored 3 or 4 year old, this was the VHS I would pop in when I was exhausted from Winnie the Pooh. And it's something I could watch all day. It's something that my parents could watch all day. And it really speaks to how universal this movie is. Like, anyone of any age can enjoy it for different reasons, but about the same amount. And that's why it was such a massive critical and audience hit. And to think that if it didn't have that kind of reception, Pixar could have gone in a completely different direction, or even fallen into obscurity. Like, this was a movie that was taking a huge risk, and it couldn't afford to be anything other than an absolute masterpiece, and by all accounts, it was.
Yeah, if it had kind of not been as good, if anything had been different, we'd forget about it and value it only for historical reasons as the first of its kind. Kind of incredible how this movie managed to hit it out of the park for being the first one.
So basically the same way people value Polar Express.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if Pixar
which also had Tom Hanks?
Yeah, full circle. Could you imagine? I guess that's the new strategy. If you're trying to do something revolutionary, you gotta attach Tom Hanks to it for like a safety net. Mm. But could you imagine if Pixar had opened with A Bug's Life instead?
That would
be
interesting.
Do you think they'd still have the same reputation they have today?
Right.
I think it still would have. Like, it did well with credits. It was it was up in the 90s, so I think it would have been fine.
Right. It's kind of like how DreamWorks intentionally bumped up Ants at the expense of Prince of Egypt. That was going to be their lead off.
Yeah, you could blame Jeffrey Katzenberg for that.
Yeah.
Katzenberg.
Yeah.
You gave us Shrek, so I'll forgive you this time.
Mm-hmm. One last thing I want to say about these movies, with Toy Story 2 in particular, I love the irony of a movie that has the line, "You can't rush art," and this movie itself was kind of a rush job, because
we
of development
talked about
issues,
that.
and despite having such a short development time, it's the only movie in history that has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes and an A+ rating on CinemaScore.
Yep.
Ooh,
I mean, it's the. I think we can all agree it's the Majora's Mask of animation. They even came out around the same year.
yeah. Within 1 year, Majora's Mask was 98, Toy Story 2 was 99.
And like I guess by that logic, Toy Story can be considered the Ocarina of Time of animation.
Yeah.
It's like it got an amazing story, great characters, awesome graphics at the time.
Yeah.
That's actually a good segue to my number 2, which is Toy Story 2.
Yeah.
All right.
I just think this one is funnier. It has more developed characters. It takes the premise of being a toy further. And then Al from Al's Toy Barn. Just hilarious.
Wayne Knight was a great choice for him. Like, even the PIXAR crew said they couldn't imagine anyone else but him.
Yeah, I just love the fact that when they were recording that final Al's Toy Barn commercial, they just kept the version where he broke down.
Yeah.
Like,
They didn't
who made the decision to air that?
Yeah, he deserved it.
Yeah.
They did it I guess they did it because they thought it would be funny.
Yeah, and then you have Kelsey Grammer also as Stinky Pete doing a great dynamic job, and Seinfeld's mom as Mrs. Potato Head.
Oh,
Right, but this one has.
By the way, she has the impressive talent of both having an annoying voice at the same time being endearing as hell at the same time.
Yeah, and then
They're like,
the best running joke with the aliens. That's the funny one. You have saved our lives. We are eternally grateful.
will you just leave me alone?
I kind of feel like
they're so cute! Let's
It
adopt
looks like
them!
the
Daddy.
Oh no.
I would kind of feel like the Minions ripped off the Toy Story aliens, but without any of the charm or whimsy. They kind of overused.
I can't really speak on that. I've never seen Despicable Me.
At least the aliens can talk.
I like the Minions a lot. Like, I'm to defend them just a tiny bit.
Right?
I mean, I recently watched the first Despicable Me, and they're freaking hilarious in that movie. Like, I get why they're so big, because, like, they're actually a really funny part of it.
I'm gonna be honest, like, with all Despicable Me films, like, I actually find the first one to be the weakest. Like, I actually like the rest of the films a lot better, honestly.
Even
I have a hard time watching 3, to be honest.
Even the Minion movie, The Minions.
Yeah. Yep. I like the Minions movie more than the first one.
Interesting.
All right, I'll let you have that one.
Interesting. That's cool. But yeah, Toy Story 2. It's just manages to be funny and serious. It has a lot of the character drama. When I was a kid, I liked the aesthetics of the new toys and going out on this world. And it expands on the premise of being a toy. Toys get broken. What then? What do you do when the toy breaks? How do you fix it? Do they want to get this thing fixed? And it's just interesting to watch. It keeps you hooked.
All right, I'm sure Mr. Spell could have put on a seminar on what to do if part of you gets damaged, just like if part of you gets swallowed.
Oh yeah, and the plastic corrosion thing.
Yeah, that was from the first one.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Spell.
You're welcome.
Oh, going back to the first one though, at the very end when the army men announced that Molly's present was Mrs. Potato Head, you can see Mr. Spell in the back spelling out "hubba hubba."
Oh, that's pretty funny.
Yeah. Funny how they had Etch-a-Sketch be around for the first two, and then they mentioned he's one of the losses in the third one.
I felt really bad for Wheezy though, because the second film looked like he was going to be around for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn.
Well,
Right.
see ya.
And unlike Bo Peep, the bus doesn't come back for him.
I know that broke my heart. Like,
Right.
I heard it was. I think it was because of Joe Ramtu passed away, but I'm just like, still, that really hurts.
Yeah, and I will say the schmoes line or the everywhere line, either way, it's hilarious.
Yep. Can't argue with that.
You think when they were like coming up with Toy Story 4 and decided to bring back Bo Peep, they were like, okay, people want strong female characters now. What's a good way to help make her design like more in tune with that? Like pants, give her pants.
Also,
And now she has pants.
It's pretty interesting to see the movie turn out to be this good despite the crunch.
Yeah,
It's quite a marvel.
I don't advocate for crunch time because it very rarely actually works. Looking at you, Cyberpunk, but I am glad it worked out in this case.
Yeah, I cannot condone a lot of the treatment or mistreatment of the animators, but this movie is still good. So at least they got what they were doing. So good for this movie.
Yeah.
All right. For my number 2, I know I'm gonna sound like a freaking broken record, but we didn't like plan these lists beforehand, like show them to each other earlier. Like I came up with this all on my own, so it's Toy Story 2. That's my number 2.
Yeah.
So we're literally just going in a loop over and over again talking about Toy Story 2.
Yoda, you've got to complete the cycle.
I dread.
Yeah.
Because I know Yoda also really loves this movie, and it's inevitably going to be on his list. So
Forget about zodiac signs. What's your Pixar birth movie?
I think Toy Story 2 is my birth movie.
Yeah, you said as much, but that's like my new astrology. What Pixar movie were you born under? If you're my age or younger, you have one.
Yeah.
But what about years where a Pixar movie didn't come out?
I mean, I was in utero when Toy Story 1 came out, so I guess that would be mine.
Yeah, we'll call you a cuss.
Okay.
You'll be a Toy Story Bugs Life cuss.
Yeah, more so Toy Story
something
though.
Else. Since we've talked so much about this movie, I want to talk about the bloopers of this movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Blink freaking dies.
Pixar, why is Pixar not bringing this freaking thing back? Like, it was such a good idea at the time, and they've only done it
proper.
They only did it in 3 movies, and they're not even on Disney Plus. Like, you have to look them up on YouTube if you actually want to see it. And
Right.
like, they make fart jokes funny in those bloopers.
Oh yeah.
And the reason it's funny is because of like it's handled in a very realistic manner. Like that's actually probably how people would handle something like that on set. Like when Stinky Pete's like, "Oh boy!" Like he actually opens up his box to like air it out. He's like, I guess that's why they call me Stinky Pete.
I love the idea of Woody just being a prankster on set.
That's one of my favorite parts of the whole thing.
He's just an absolute troll.
Yeah, these outtakes were actually manufactured. I've heard voice actors flub their lines before. It's totally different.
Yeah, just seeing Woody like in that box when Buzz is walking around, just going like, yeah.
or when he writes like
This space for
I
rent.
forget what yeah on his wings. It's like what are you?
Yeah. I particularly like the
because he
bloopers
calls
with
him
Wheezy.
Oh, when he got the microphone thrown at him, like I remember that cracking my dad up whenever he watched that.
And that is how it happens like a lot with scenes like that. And Monster Inc. did a similar thing where Boo had trouble like catching the Cheerios in her mouth because something like that would be hard to. You're not going to do it on the first try. It's kind of like what Jackie Chan says about when making his movies, because everyone's like, man, like the way he does those stunts, it's incredible. He's so talented, but he's like, I'm not talented. Anyone can do that. You just have to have time and patience, like to get that take right. So like whenever he's doing insane stunts like that, because they have time and money, they're able to get it just right. And yeah, bloopers really do bring that, help put into perspective how tough filmmaking can be. And I even if the bloopers aren't exactly real, I still appreciate the fact that they bring that aspect to light, you know?
Mm-hmm.
As well as being funny too.
Yes.
That helps.
I also like the little bit. What?
No, you keep going.
I also like the little bit with the delivery men, like when they're not on camera, they're actually just talk really normally, even though they still have those funny voices.
Mm-hmm.
And it also implies that because they refer to each other by their names, like they're just playing themselves.
Yeah.
And also, I want to know where, like, when Stinky Pete was talking to those two, like, Barbie dolls, I want to know where that conversation was going to go.
Yeah, they cut that out of the Disney Plus run.
I felt bad for that because, like, I like that movie. I think it was funny.
Yeah, but if you think of Lasseter, it can bring back bad memory.
Yeah. And this was right, and Disney Plus became a thing right around the Weinstein trials.
Yeah.
I mean, crap, Monsters Inc. doesn't even have bloopers on Disney Plus.
Now that just makes no sense.
That is a damn crime.
Well, you get to hear the full uncut If I Didn't Have You.
True.
That's the only good thing about it. But
Newman's first Oscar win.
Mm-hmm.
You're agreeing with it.
And the Buzz Light bloopers were also pretty good, especially whenever no one can take Hopper seriously.
Right.
Yeah.
Do I look stupid to you?
Yeah, I just love. I said he would stab me, and Malt just keeps on laughing. That last laugh, like that's up there with Woody's laugh. It just cracks me up whenever I hear it. It's like,
Richard Kind is a treasure, and I hope I got that point across in my Tom and Jerry review.
Right.
yep.
Oh yes.
And I guess yeah, there's not much else I can say that's new about this, but I don't think have we talked about the Jessie's, like, her sad scene where she talked, I forget the name of the song.
When Somebody Loved Me.
Yeah, have we talked about that?
I don't think we did.
I'm surprised we haven't talked about that scene more.
Hey, Tom Hanks and Tim Allen cry.
Yeah, I mean, holy crap! It's such a sad scene, and it helps us, like, we understand now, like, why Jessie is so scared of, like, tight spaces, and like, even into Toy Story 3, like, she still kind of has that fear because, like, it was like that heartbreaking and emotionally devastating for her. Oh my gosh.
And like even the Halloween special, like, had her, like, go through that fear and, like, conquer it.
Just, like, even as we grow, there are still some scars that, like, don't go away immediately.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, and plus it's just a beautiful song, like, on its own, with, like, really pretty colors that help get across that the feeling that it's a flashback, that also she has nostalgic feelings for it. Mm-hmm. Like the good memories, at least.
Mm-hmm.
And even when because you could say that there are basically two plots going on at the same time. Woody's deal, like, learning about his how he's actually a really famous toy, and his friends, like, trying to go and save him, and that is I'm very impressed by how well they juggle those two plot lines, and because it's the part with Woody trying to figure out whether he should leave or stay is so well written that at some points I honestly believe that maybe he should go to Japan. Like, maybe that is, like, what would be best for him, because it actually it's just that well written.
Yeah, it's a really good job on like actually making you sympathize with the fact that he's making the wrong decision.
Right.
Like another film like Thing of Do It was like when Aladdin is trying to like debate whether or not he wants to set the genie free, or when Simba's debating whether or not he wants to go back to Pride Rock or not.
Right. And this also lends credence to Prospector's later role as the villain.
Yeah.
Because his motivations never change. It's just his attitude once Woody changes his mind.
Yeah, he only uses force once it's absolutely necessary.
Right.
Can I just say, does anyone think it's clever or lazy that he and Lotso have the exact same fate, like at the end of both of their movies? Like it's almost exactly the same.
I kind of feel like Stinky Pete was better.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like,
and
the thing is,
she looks like a normal Barbie doll, and then like she turns her face. She's an artist. Like,
the thing is, Stinky Pete, like in his brief monologue, like he clearly holds resentment at the fact that he was never sold to anybody, and you'd think that at the end, once he actually gets an owner, albeit by force, like you'd think that'd be some kind of comfort to him, but then you realize it's not really about being an owner, about being owned. It's about being respected.
Right.
Like that's why he prefers the museum. He doesn't have to deal with the burden of an ownership, but people will still love him anyway.
Well, at least he didn't get picked up by some like Sid child.
Yeah.
Oh man, what if he became? Man, what if he got owned by Sid at the end? I mean, this was after Sid's trauma, so maybe it wouldn't have had the same cathartic effect.
Maybe it would have been interesting to see what Sid is like a couple years later, to see if he actually has changed.
I think he appeared in like Toy Story 3 as a garbage man, and like he was probably with that guy who found Lotso.
That was Sid?
Yeah. Like near the beginning, you can see a guy collecting the garbage, and he has like a black shirt with a white skeleton face on it.
No freaking way.
Yep, yeah. That was him, and that was even his voice, Eric Von Deeten, playing that part.
Wow.
The things you miss. I think I've said enough about Toy Story 2.
We've all said enough, and we're not done. So.
But we're not done yet. But I'm not done yet.
Yoda time.
Like, I'll say my thoughts on Toy Story 2 later. Spoiler alert! But before I do, like, especially with the other Toy Story, we're going to talk about my number 2 pick, Finding Nemo. Literally one of my definitions of a perfect film. The characters are perfect, the drama is perfect, the story is perfect, the humor is perfect, the animation is freaking spectacular. I like to say what's up, is one of the most gorgeous looking films I've ever seen. And like, the fact that we know what Marlon is going through, like the fact that they showed that little scene with him and Coral, like, you immediately you sympathize with what he's doing, even if he's like not making the best decisions. You get why he's doing it, because he doesn't want to lose Nemo the same way he lost his wife.
No,
and Nemo, like,
it's pretty beautiful, actually, just how that motivates him.
Yeah, and the same thing with like Nemo. Like, Nemo isn't like a bratty kid. Like, he wants to go out and explore new things, and he only gets out because his father is like holding him like unrestrained and is not letting him do anything. Although there's part of me, like, even now, when Marlon says like, you can wait 5 or 6 years to go to school, I'm like, Nemo, your dad is saying you don't have to go to school for 6 years. Take it and roll with it.
Yeah, I guess it's that kind of attitude where it's like Jasmine lives in a rich palace but wants to go out, but like Aladdin is on the outside and wants to be in a rich palace. So it's like, it depends on how you're brought up.
Yeah, and of course Dory, like, her debut and like her meeting with like Marlin and Nemo is just like a lot of fun. Like, especially love how like the short-term memory loss doesn't get old. Like, it's like a recurring trait, but like, people with disabilities can really relate with Dory, especially even with the sequel. But also here, like, all the characters that they come across are a ton of fun. Like, who could forget the sharks, like the moonfish, the turtles, the tanking. All these characters are just so freaking memorable. And you remember what each one of these characters does, and you remember all the lines they say. It sits with you.
Yeah.
And I love the
messed up if you think about it. He loses his wife. His son is abducted. He has to face off sharks and creatures who literally try to eat him. And he has a friend with short-term memory loss. This is brutal stuff.
Yeah.
Say, like, not only was his wife eaten, but like 99% of his kids were eaten too. So it's like, assuming the Barracuda didn't come, were they just gonna fit all of those kids inside that one anemone?
That's how real clownfish.
I mean, I feel like that would be a lot to keep up with.
You know the really biologically accurate thing about the clownfish that they always point out on the internet?
Yeah.
How in the absence of females, a male clownfish can change sex.
Oh my gosh.
So Marlin is the first transgender Pixar character?
Technically, yes.
Yeah.
The more you know.
It's not one of those things where it's like J.K. Rowling goes back. It's like, by the way, Dumbledore's gay. Give me brownie points. But it's like, no, we came to that conclusion on our own. So you're welcome, right. Pixar.
It's one of those things where you do overthink it, even if it's not explicitly stated.
Yeah.
So where's our Oscar? Pixar, come on.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this did win the Academy.
Best animated feature, the first Pixar movie to do so.
Well earned.
And a film and a scene that I especially want to talk about in this film, like I probably talked about it several times before, but it's the scene where Marlin and Dory first come across the whale. That scene, the way it's built up, the way like the whale is just standing there like in the dark, it seems like he could be like just any regular fish. Reveals himself to be a whale and then comes up behind Marlin and Dory without them even realizing it. It is one of the most chilling scenes you can ever put in an animated film. The way the whale just like starts coming towards them slowly and just gets bigger and bigger. The way he shows up just slowly out of the mist without them even realizing it. That is like, it's like top notch filmmaking and editing. It's like that thing with Pacha of the Inversion Group. He's just like that does that thing. That's what I am when I see that scene.
Right.
Yeah.
And were you gonna say something, Carrick?
I like the buoy scene where like Marlin thinks that Nemo is gone, and like they're just in. It's just completely dark and dank, and there's no music. It's just the atmosphere, and Marlin's not like crying or angry. He's just like completely defeated and has like nothing left in him. And Dory like wants to like help him out. He doesn't want him to leave because she doesn't want to forget. And then, oh my gosh, when Marlin's just like, I'm sorry, Dory, but I do. And then he just goes. My God,
Jesus
it's like,
Christ.
Oh, it's so sad. It's because like, and we know that Nemo's alive, so like that just makes it all the more heartbreaking. Because like, if only he knew.
Dramatic irony.
Yeah, and like the scene where like Marlin and Nemo finally reunite, like Marlin just like lighting up when he sees his son alive again. That is just like right up there. It's like it's just beautiful.
Yeah, that whole scene is a whole tease because you know they're gonna get back together. You're not gonna see it, but they just keep avoiding each other.
Yeah, I feel like it was done better than an American Tail because American Tail was like too depressing to watch, at least for my taste. Finding Nemo had like more of a good balance between humor and drama, which like drew me in more.
Right. I see.
All right, Nemo, let's go home. Which way is home, Dad? They kind of gloss over how they get back home.
Yeah, I can let it slide. And like Dory in general, like I can't praise her performance enough. Like I'm gonna say this: Ellen DeGeneres' story, like in my opinion, is Pixar's Robin Williams genie. Like I think Dory's role as a comic relief is that good, especially how she like manages balances between like being like a really funny character, but also being like very sympathetic at the same time, and really helps give the movie its heart.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's you. Yeah, it's me.
By the way, we never did hear all of Marlon's joke, just the setup and the punchline, but none of the middle.
yeah, I saw in a bonus feature they actually did that, and Albert Brooks actually improvised that whole bit with the mollusk and the sea cucumber.
Oh,
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Now
So-
I know how the joke goes.
Uh-huh. So, with all that said, like, I especially love, like, the tank gang. Like, I love how Gil, like, isn't a villain. They were originally going to make Gil a villain, but, like, they decided to make him, like, a really supportive friend of Nemo. I especially love how, when he realizes that first trick almost got Nemo killed, he, like, realizes, no, we're done. We're done with this. And, then you like how when Nemo like apologizes for what happened, Gil says that he's the one who to blame because putting Nemo in the way for his own selfish gain. Like that is another great scene,
Yeah.
and Willem Dafoe knocks it out of the park as that
yeah.
part.
And then right
We
after
need him
that,
in
we
more
get a
animated
moment
movies.
that made me afraid of the dentist for 2 years.
Oh, yeah, but
Man,
anyway,
the movie would have been so much worse if Gil was actually a villain.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
but anyway, Nick, I think it's your turn.
that's like Finding Nemo's my number 2 choice.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, for my number 2 choice, I hope you guys are up for repetition.
No.
What is it?
Yeah, Up is my number 2.
Oh yeah, up again.
I feel like Squidward banging his head into the cash register.
Yeah, I have that effect on people.
All three have mentioned it already, so
I mean, I don't know what else I can say about this movie that hasn't already been touched upon in previous podcasts and by everyone else who put it at number 3. I mean, the opening 10 minutes are an absolute masterpiece. The rest of the movie not only holds up well, but is complemented by those first 10 minutes. And it's not the opening sequence that gets me to break down. It's the last 2 minutes where everything comes full circle. Carl accepts that, the adventure is just living life. And I think it's the moment where he gives Russell the grape soda cap. The thing that he's treasured his entire life is like the one thing above everything else that he values in Ellie's memory. And the fact that he passes it on to Russell, God, it's such a beautiful moment. And the last minute where they're eating ice cream on the curb like Russell said he used to do with his own father. And then the final shot of the house sitting on the tepuy. God.
Man,
Like, this is one of my ugly cry movies. Like, first time I watched this in years, I cried at 4 different spots, and that part was the one that completely shattered me.
get that.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Also, I just want to say, the first time they get to Paradise Falls and it shows the far out shot of the large tepuy, am I the only one who thinks it looks like a giant steak, just the way it's rendered?
I don't blame you.
I'll post a picture in the chat
the way,
so you can see.
When you were talking, I am actually glad that you brought up again, because and when you said the grape soda bottle cap thing, because I saw a really funny meme of that, and it's like whenever somebody does slightly good in a shooter game, and then it's like Carl, but if he was an 8-year-old kid, it's like, I am giving you the highest honor I can bestow, and then it cuts to I keep forgetting the kid's name.
Russell?
Russell. It cuts to Russell, and where the badge is, it says hacker. So it's like it's true. Anytime somebody does like slightly good in a game like Team Fortress 2 or Counter Strike, like some like random kid will be like, "Oh, this guy's cheating! I need him to get banned." You know what I mean? It's so it's so frustrating.
Okay, can you guys see the picture in the chat? Tell me that doesn't kind of look like a steak.
Yeah, I kind of see it. I kind of see it. Just the way it's zoomed out and the way the focus is.
Yeah.
Huh.
I guess you can say
I mean, hey.
up really raises the stakes.
Yeah.
No, you can't.
Saw it.
You're no fun, Carrick.
You mean it really raises up the stakes?
Yeah.
I will commit a hate crime, and I don't care who it is against.
All right, before we get to our number ones, we can dump a few honorable mentions. One that came really close for me was the Rat movie, which I almost had. If I had placed Toy Story 1 and 2 on the same spot, it would have probably made it. And then, of course, Finding Nemo, Incredibles, and Toy Story 3, which is another film I had in my top 10.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, Toy
For
Story
my
3,
honorable...
solid trilogy.
Oh, sorry.
Now you go,
For
Carrie.
my honorable mentions, I have The Incredibles, WALL-E, Toy Story 3, Coco, and Finding Nemo. All of those films are ones where it's like they're really great. I love them, but like there's just like something like about them on a personal level where it's like they don't quite get there to like the top tier of Pixar. And because when everything is so consistently good, you got to have some sort of bias, I think, when deciding the order.
Exactly.
Also, I think Toy Story 4 is underrated.
As
And you're
for my honorable mentions, we have from the bottom to the top. I'll give 5 of them: Inside Out, Soul, Onward, Incredibles 2, and Monsters Inc.
Ooh, Onward.
I was surprised that Monsters Inc. wasn't in your top 5.
Yeah, you've been going on about it for most of the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but with Pixar, it's a really close quality, so you gotta make cuts. But I understand. And Nick?
So like Yoda, I'm also going to go to bat for Onward. Other honorable mentions include Toy Story 3, Incredibles 2, Finding Nemo, and Soul. And we might as well throw Monsters Inc. in there as well.
Yeah, I think that's Soul to mine too. I want to see how its legacy shapes up. Don't go online in Oscar season. Just letting you know, no matter what wins.
Yeah, like with Onward, that was a film that made me ugly cry.
Aww.
Yeah, I was surprised how good that movie was. Like for me, that's one of those movies that just gets better as it goes along.
Yeah, that's right. The acting was really the best part. I was really impressed. They didn't go for the obvious Deus Ex Machina.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's time for number ones. You all know what mine is, so yeah.
Lay it on us, old buddy of mine.
There's no need for the suspense, Wes. We all know that Brave is number 1.
Of course not. I just said WALL-E in the mic using the name. But this just has like everything I want from a good movie. I think it's probably my favorite animated film regardless of studio. It's just got this beautiful message. It's got subtleties in its storytelling. It doesn't adhere to the silent film gimmick all the way, but I think it would have gotten old after a time. And when it goes to the spaceship, it still keeps the story focused on Wally and Eve. Their chemistry is beautiful. Their setting's beautiful. I love the little hints they give in the score. It has one of the best soundtracks of a Pixar movie. The Roach is hilarious for what little screen time he has. It's just the little things that make this movie. It's really nice.
Yeah, let's hope that Roach didn't end up doing the same thing what happened in the Fairly Odd Parents.
Oh, right. World domination.
Tequila, yeah.
I admit this might be personal because I was watching it when I was 13 and looking for a little bit more to get in on me, but it totally blew me away as a teenager. So I was like, yeah, this is it. Pixar is back, baby. Not that they had gone away yet, but they were there.
Yeah.
Another example of my life in Pixar.
My number one film. I feel like I might need to debate with myself for a little. The Rat movie. I gotta go. Yeah, it's the Rat movie.
Yeah.
And it feels the most.
You mean Ratatouille?
Precisely.
Yeah, precisely. I mean, it's the closest this company has ever gotten to having an independent film. The lengths to which it shows off not only Remy's passions, but also how far they go into what it means to be a chef and what it means to be a creator, and just showing them living life. And like Remy's entire okay, I'm sorry. I'm honestly kind of drawing a blank now. I feel like this is something I should have had planned, but I don't know. I like this movie. I've talked about it enough. You guys know why I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Is that good enough for Yoda Jack?
My number one pick is a tie between the first two Toy Stories, Toy Story 1 and Toy Story 2.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yep, like, these films, like, they mean so friggin' much to me. Like the only other anime film the only other film that I could say I like better than these two films is The Lion King. That is how much I love these two. And
Coming from you.
what?
That's high praise knowing your taste.
Yep. And I love the dynamic between Woody and Buzz in the first one. I just love how it sets up the drama and the conflict between them. I love all the other characters. Even the animation, which may feel dated to some people, for 1995, this is still damn impressive animation.
Quite.
And like all the different people that they brought on board to do this, like especially in the voice acting department, like Don Rickles, John Ratzenberger, Wallace Shawn, and the late Jim Varney.
Yeah.
And especially love how it sets up. I also love how the toys, even though they didn't believe Woody at first, they at least tried to make up their mistakes by trying to help them get back in the van, which I thought was pretty good. And I thought the drama with like Buzz realizing that he's like just a toy is handled very well. Like nothing about Woody and Buzz's like the arcs they go through, nothing feels forced. It all feels just right. Like when they learn something, it really does feel like they're learning something and they're like taking on from it. They're like getting better. They're like becoming better people, understand each other like as the film goes on. It doesn't feel forced. Like every part of it feels earned. And
Right.
and the humor is really great too. Like I can't even touch on the humor. It's that good. But when I go to Toy Story 2, now unlike Nick, who said like that he has to lean more toward the first one, for me, if someone were to force me to choose, I'd lean towards more the second one in a heartbeat. The second one, it takes on what the first one did, and it expands on it even more by having the toys like go out more of their comfort zone, go out into the world and explore, with Woody getting kidnapped, and like it has more of like an adventure kind of feeling to it when Buzz has the other toys come along with him. They aren't just sitting around the Annie's house. Like Mr. Potato Head, Ham, Rex, and Slinky all are a part of the journey, and it really feels like a fun journey. Part of that, and the newer characters are a lot of fun. Especially love Barbie, a character who they couldn't get the rights for the first one, they can now use and make fun of in the second film, which I thought was a really nice touch.
Right. I kind of find it interesting how each Toy Story movie is a different genre, and yet they somehow work as a series.
Yeah, and I especially love Jodie Benson as Barbie. Like, God bless her. Love that woman. And And with Stinky Pete, like he's definitely, in my opinion, the best way to do a twist villain. Because like Nid said, his motivations never change. He's always encouraging Woody to go to the museum with him. And when he finally reveals himself as the bad guy, like, in my opinion, another scene of just like tight filmmaking is when Jesse said, like, look, what are you doing isn't fair. Like, Stinky Pete just lets it all out, saying like they don't know what it's like to be like what it's like to be unfair. Then like he says his whole backstory, just that like he spent a lifetime on a dime store shelf watching every other toy be sold. All like the music that plays, the way he's animated, Kelsey Grammer's delivery on online, it's one of those things where I'm like, this is like top notch filmmaking. Yeah, lots of may have had like a backstory or go along with it, but Stinky Pete explains his whole backstory and like why he's doing this in like seconds. That is incredible. That is like, that just puts it like right up there. So something that's like really tight filmmaking in terms of PIXAR and animation. So that one I love. It just really gets to me. And I also love the ending too. Now, even if Toy Story 3 or Toy Story 4 didn't exist, I wouldn't care because the ending line they choose to close out this film is just a perfect way to do so. Because when Woody says, when it all ends, I'll have old Buzz Lightyear TV company for infinity and beyond.
Yeah, that hits me in the feels every time.
Like, even if Toy Story 3 or Toy Story 4 didn't exist, that is a perfect way to end your series. That would have been, like, a perfect way to do it. Even though I really like Toy Story 3 and 4, the ending, you can't beat that ending. That is, like, perfect. Mm-hmm. So, with all that said, that is why the first two Toy Stories are my pick for my absolute favorite PIXAR film.
Right.
All right.
Do you guys think I could have done a better job explaining Ratatouille?
I mean, if you've
I feel like maybe I didn't. Maybe I didn't go far enough.
Like, do you have more that you want to add?
I guess part of the reason I have less to say about it is because nobody else has Ratatouille in their top 5, so we haven't been talking about it this whole time.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, you guys know. I think everyone knows why I like it, so I think it's fine.
That's fair.
No, well, what did you think of Shafrillis's PIXAR list?
Pretty nice. Disagreed with some of his reasonings for the film, but don't necessarily argue with the order. Kind of felt like it was a bit nitpicky at parts, but overall, pretty content and understand where he seated everything.
Mm-hmm.
I have a reaction to that video, and I pretty much get my thoughts out by the end of it. And I find it interesting that we have the exact same number 1 for both his ranking and our tournament.
Yep. And also, speaking of why we're all here, it's the Super Cup.
Not yet. I haven't given my number 1 yet.
Oh, right. Nick.
Oops.
Sorry.
All right. So my number 1 should come as a surprise to absolutely nobody. It is Inside Out.
Yeah, you love what film Inside Out? What's the film you love Inside Out all the way through?
We're not doing this.
Somebody once made a tweet where it's like, put 2 films together, like their names together, Finding Dory, Inside Out.
Oh, God.
Oh, that little girl Inside Out? That is so metal.
Okay. But, yeah, Inside Out is my number 1. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this to you guys, but my mom works as an elementary school teacher for people who have English as a second language or who have learning disabilities or other handicaps that kind of make them a higher priority. And before every break in the year, she puts on a movie. So before winter break, she has them watch Polar Express. Before spring break, she has them watch The Lorax with Danny DeVito. And on the last day before summer break, she puts on Inside Out. And I like to think I had a big part in that because first time I watched this movie, I immediately went on to all my social media to declare it the greatest movie I've ever seen. And even though I don't quite hold that opinion now, it's still pretty high up there, probably number 2.
And
I mean, that's almost exactly number 1.
Number 1 is The Shawshank Redemption.
Knew it.
So it's like you wrote IMDb.
Sorry?
So it's like you run IMDb because Shawshank's their number one.
Yeah. I mean, it's everyone's favorite movie for a reason. But getting back to Inside Out, I bring this up because I feel like, kind of like with Soul, there are people who kind of have this impression that because it takes on such a heavy topic, it's not as suited for kids as something like Toy Story or Cars. And so the fact that my mom shows this to her class every year, and we're talking like 9 and 10-year-olds, 9 and 10-year-olds with learning disabilities, the fact that she shows this every year and they always love it every single time puts that mindset to rest. And I think I've talked a lot about this movie. We all talk about how funny it is, how emotional it is. Bing Bong's death being the most absolute death because, like, it's not even gone but not forgotten, because the whole point is that he is forgotten. Damn it, Bing Bong, why did you have to do that?
Man.
And of course, the idea of not bottling up your emotions. They're all valid. They all play a part in shaping your personality and helping you get through life. There's one scene, though, that I almost never see brought up. It's kind of a small scene, but I think it's a very important scene. And it's the scene after the first day in San Francisco, the night before Riley's first day of school. Her mom talks to her about how stressed her dad is feeling because with the new move, and how if he doesn't get his company up and running, he's going to have to lay a lot of people off. He's clearly very stressed. And so her mom tells her that, she's proud of her for staying happy. And if she can keep being happy for her dad's sake, then it'll make everything go smoothly for everybody. And I think that's an important scene because it really goes to show how much pressure they're putting on Riley to keep up a happy attitude, even if she has to force it. I mean, that's a big reason why Joy is so adamant on keeping Riley happy all the time, even at the expense of all the other emotions. And this movie does such a brilliant job at showing why that's such a bad idea. And because of that, I think this isn't just a great movie for kids, but it's especially important for parents as well, because they want what's best for their kids. They want them to be happy all the time, and sometimes they might go about it the wrong way, like saying you have to stay happy for other people's sake. So the fact that this movie is expressly shows that scene with Riley's mom, and Joy takes that so much to heart that it causes all of the events of the second and third acts, I think that really goes to show just how universal this is and how important it is for all demographics for different reasons.
Well said. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, I don't see it brought up a whole lot. And yeah, like I said, it's a bit of a smaller scene, somewhat overlooked, but it really does a good job at setting up the conflict and the message and the resolution. Mm-hmm. Also, this movie ends with the single funniest moment in any Pixar movie, and that was perfect placing. Girl.
Yeah.
I'm sure we can all attest to having been in that situation.
Yeah.
It's relatable.
Yeah.
Although the scene with the bus driver was a close second. It was like, guys, let's all calm down. Let's just all go to our happy place.
Triple income.
What? No!
Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah. So yeah. Inside Out, favorite Pixar movie, favorite animated movie of all time. It's not even close.
Yeah.
All right.
Also, apparently the helicopter guy with multiple women. That was confirmed by the credits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, now can I say what we were all here for?
Sure.
Yeah.
Do it.
With the Super Cup. Our Pixar Panic champion, The Incredibles, got 125 votes. The Emperor's New Groove, 143.
Yes!
Oh my gosh!
Hooray!
What is this world?
Nothing can throw off Cusco's groove.
I mean, to Incredibles' credit, this was a lot closer than its other matches.
Right. And Emperor's New Groove almost equaled its total from Mouse Madness.
Wow.
Does this mean it has more votes than Wally?
No.
Overall, not even close.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me because I didn't do the Grump Bub until the very end of the Disney thing.
Right. But still, man, this was great. I was glad having you all here. Now I'm going to hibernate for like the next month or so.
My man, you get your rest.
Yeah, good. It was nice having you.
It is
Great job. Tournament to the end. It was really nice. And thanks.
And now it's on to the actual March Madness tournament.
Right, we've come full circle.
Because today is Selection Sunday.
It actually was going on while we were recording.
And I believe the brackets are now set for the picking.
Yep.
We've gone from doing this because March Madness couldn't happen to finishing it off right when March Madness came back.
Yep.
That's the circle of life.
Yep.
All memes and real life is connected.
So let's enjoy. Go UVA.
Go Illinois.
I don't follow sports teams, so go other guys.
Yeah, just root for LSU. They're a good team.
Yeah.
Go get a touchdown. We're talking about the same sport, right?
Yeah, hit a touchdown.
Yeah. Yeah, but also, any of you guys see my Wackos America remix where I do it only the states that won March Madness?
I have not.
Oh.
Well, I feel like if I were to update that anytime soon, I would add in Washington State for Gonzaga.
Okay.
And during the remix, I actually left in Wacko's adding of Washington, D.C. because Georgetown has won a tournament before.
And they had quite the comeback in the Big East.
Yep, it's a Cinderella conference run, but they won in 84. In 85, they were the evil stepmother to Villanova's Cinderella. In the first year of the 64-team bracket, number 8 Villanova pulled an Emperor's New Groove.
Damn.
Yeah.
It's almost poetic.
Right.